Any questions? Feel free to raise your hands. Sinong gusto magtanong?
Showbiz question. Like Carlo from Orange Magazine. It says on the teaser that in 2022, during a time of uncertainty and political upheaval, the heads provided a solace to a country for the fans. 3 years after that, we seem to be experiencing the same case again, the repeat of that. What does the heads have to offer to again comfort or somewhat heal or unite the country?
I have to preface my answer with this is our own little way. I mean, kumbaga, as artists, we don't really have that much power. I mean, compared to, of course, the people who are actually in power. But in our own little way, I hope that being an artist and doing this kind of music for the fans will kind of help them get through the disappointments we had during the election, like we did, and this is one of the reasons why we put up the show in the first place.
Thank you.
Questions? Yes, Pam.
For Diane muna. I know like you've put so much work into this. Congratulations.
Thank you
We're so
so
happy
much.
to finally watch it. I'm wondering how difficult or was it a challenge for you to, because of course there are 4 guys in the group, but you have a personal connection to one of them.
Yes.
So parang was it a challenge keeping that balance and making sure na like you're not swayed by personal feelings when it comes to putting the film together?
Yeah, thanks Pam for that insightful question. I think it definitely presented itself as a challenge because I've been his business partner and manager for like more than a decade or 2 decades already. So my way of being is always to protect his interest, you know. But I think the way that I balanced things was that I knew that Ely for a long time has felt trapped in the way that, you know, people perceived him, the mythology, you know, and the things that were said about him, which he did not parang basically have the chance to explain himself or to give his side of the story. So I think with this film, where they really unloaded everything and revealed their story, parang I felt it would be remiss of me and it would be a great injustice if I didn't honor that. So as much as possible, like as a filmmaker, the only 2 things that I made sure of was that I create an environment where it would be comfortable for them to and safe to reveal their truth, and second is to honor that truth by not adding to it or by not subtracting to it, pero just kind of weaving all those things in a narrative, in a cohesive way, you know. And I hope I was able to do that.
Absolutely. Additional
Thank
question
you.
lang quickly. So you know Ely very well. Was there anything that surprised you about him or about the Eraserheads journey as you were working on the film?
Yeah, I think a lot of things. Like I was, but the one thing that I remember was the fact na parang, you know, I only got for a long time, for years, I only got his side, you know. So for a long time, that was the truth. And it made a lot of sense also. And, you know, his feelings and perspectives and thoughts were valid. It wasn't until I heard everyone else's perspectives that made me realize that, hey, multiple truths can coexist, you know? And so I guess that was a big takeaway na parang even though they've experienced the same exact experience, parang they could actually look at it from different perspectives and it can still be correct, you know, and had they just talked about it, and that's something that we can all learn from, diba? As if we could just like express our thoughts, you know, honestly, I'm sure that anyone else can also can also understand, you know, the differences. So, yun, I think that was it.
Thank you. And then one question for Ellie, please. When was the first time that you watched the film, and what is your reaction to it?
Siguro nung, I think I watched the very first cut because ako yung pinaka-available to watch it.
I forced him.
And yeah, and medyo iba pa yung thrust of the narrative back then, but even then I was already moved by the, of course there's that nostalgia thing, looking back on our past, and but most of all it was the what the other guys had to say about the experience.
Like, were those things new to you? Like, you didn't.
Well,
you didn't
definitely,
think
because I
it was-
never asked them, and they never told me. So this was the first time that we actually got to parang to hear what the other person had to say.
Wow, it's huge. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Questions? Yes, Hannah.
So, hi, my question is for Ellie. So, you've mentioned that you've heard everyone's thoughts for the first time, or like you didn't like have the chance to like open up to each other, and then we all have our own ways of coping and healing, especially from things that didn't go that well as shown. So, how did hearing your bandmates' thoughts and then rewatching your own thoughts at that time period during the interview help you heal?
I guess I think I became more generous in hearing out other people, because syempre when you're young and you think you're you're the man, and you think you're a rock star, you don't care about anything. It's just me, right? And for years, coming apat, ganun talaga yung attitude. So and it didn't work, and it made things worse as our careers went on, and there was that backlash na nga, and we couldn't cope with that. So parang I think it's a small thing to just parang hear the other person out, but it goes a long way talaga in the healing process.
Miss Diane, my question is, you've heard everyone's sides of the story. So
Yeah.
how did you personally feel, and how did you not allow your personal feelings and thoughts, especially that you were connected to Ellie at some point, affect the way in making this?
Yeah, I think yeah, I mentioned I felt like, you know, the guys were ready to reclaim their narrative, to own what was theirs, which is their story. And so I needed to really honor that. And I think that's where the objectivity also came from. And then my feelings, I guess, from, you know, listening and hearing the different perspectives. Parang, just to add to what Pam was also asking, parang, diba, we all have our own preconceived notions and biases when it comes to things. And I think if anything, yun nga, again, the importance of expression and communication, kasi a lot of conflict could be avoided from just, you know, merely, but of course you need to be in a position to want to understand the other person. Pero I think like if we just all listen to each one's perspective and had that patience to really try to understand the other person, we could see their point then, and parang see it from their perspective, and conversation, and you know, could happen. I think that's very important, especially during such a polarized, you know, like anyone that, you know, anyone whose opinion or thought does not align with ours is immediate cancellation na. But you have to understand, they're coming from a different background, they're coming from a different way of being, diba? So if we cancel them, we lose that opportunity to answer and to resolve conflict. So I think that's also what happened with, you know, the Eraserheads, and that's why it was so cathartic, even just for me as a filmmaker to basically learn from their story. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Joey Marzan from Daily Guardian. Just wanted to ask for the both of you. After, I think siguro, kasi na-mention na rin ni Sir Ely that he was a bit shocked nung nalaman niya yung sentiments ng ano niya, no? Yung groupmates niya. And I wanted to ask the both of you, what has changed for you since seeing the film for yourselves? Either of you can start that.
I copy your answer.
I think yun nga, I was more willing to listen, like what I said kanina. And have a conversation, no matter how difficult it is. As a matter of fact, I just had one like a few weeks ago with a member of the band because we had parang a very, very huge issue with something. And there was a danger of things happening again, like almost breaking up the band again. But good thing we had this experience with a documentary, and it parang we were more open to. It was the first time the four of us sat together in a room just to discuss things and iron out our differences. So that was the lessons learned from the movie.
Yeah, I think I was a witness to the, I mean, at least I've heard the story, and yun nga, I think what I got out of it is, you know, healing, or it's not like a destination or a finality. It's like a work in progress. It's a process. So it doesn't mean that they've, you know, gotten back together, that it's going to be perfect. And as with any relationship, conflict will ensue. Pero I think it's the approach of how you handle conflict that spells the difference, diba? And I saw that difference. You know, that same situation 10 years or 20 years ago could have become like another implosion and another breakup. But because they have the tools right now to be able to communicate and articulate, you know, whatever their feelings are, they're able to resolve conflict. So I think that's something we can all resonate with, because nobody here in this room or anywhere has ever been without conflict, or has ever gotten into not gotten into a fight with anyone. So yeah, I think that was something that inspired me from doing this film.
Years in the making yung movie, no? Pero can you share lang yung timeline kung paano nag-start yung idea, tapos kung paano nyo shinare sa kanila na gagawa kayo ng docu?
As Ellie mentioned a while ago, he was forced into it. He didn't even know what was going on. No, I mean, the backstory kasi is, it wasn't premeditated. It wasn't like a 10-year process of, I'm going to make a film about the Eraserheads. It was a spontaneous decision. Parang during the rehearsals for the 2022 reunion, parang, yeah, I knew that Ellie was coming from the intention of, hey, you were coming from politically polarized, diba? He, you know, he was one of the outspoken, he was like vocal in terms of like encouraging people to exercise their freedom and to vote, and parang all those things that happened at that time, you know, the pandemic also, parang it felt so, I don't know, it felt like something important was happening. And, you know, again, you know, with any Eraserheads reunion, you never know when it's going to happen. So it's like, we didn't document the last ones. I mean, not comprehensively. So I was like, maybe we should do it now because something is happening. I don't know what it is. I need to ask questions to figure out what it is. And they were all there present in the rooms. I was like, I'm going to get a nice camera. And, you know, I was like, you know, asking, you know, WEU, who was like the co-producer for the concert, to like, maybe we should also, you know, have coverage or document this event and ask them questions. And I think Ellie was like in the throes of rehearsals, and I was like, okay, can we ask questions? Yeah, that was in 2022. It was right after their 10-year hiatus, so they were coming off of like awkwardness and tension. And the first interview was the four of them seated together, super awkward. Like you can cut the, the tension. But as you know, as the progress of the yung concert was as it was happening, parang I also saw the difference or the evolution of the relationship, not even the connection, after the super tense next to each other interview, we decided that it had to be like individual, because we feel na it's so difficult to talk about another person when they're right next to you. So we did that, and then I saw personally, I don't know, I could be just imagining things, but every time they expressed anger or joy or whatever emotion that they've had or any story about the past, like the next time that they would be together, parang something was changing. It was as if they were expressing to each other, even though it isn't, which is also a thing about therapy, na expression is in and of itself therapeutic. And I felt like it helped sort of, I don't know, heal. It was cathartic for me, so I can just imagine how it must have been for them.
As a follow-up to his question, can I just ask, so you you started working on it during the rehearsals of the 2022 show, and then Eddie mentioned earlier the first edit, it was a different thrust pa. How did you get to the point na, okay, it's finally ready, this is the version that we want to release to the world? And how difficult was it?
I'm going to blame Rico, the head of Warner. He gave me a tough deadline, which is something that I need. I think if I was given an extent, this would still be evolving. This would be like a 5-year project in the making. Kasi they're such fascinating characters. There's always something new that they're doing that I'm learning from, and it's this process of learning from, it's never ending. So yeah, 2 years after 68 versions, after 35 reshoots, after 3 weeks after lang yung last, here you are with the final.
I think
also.
the initial plan was
Episode.
2 parts.
Oh yeah.
Parts.
It was supposed to be episodic eh. Imagine
then part 1 was the history, and then part 2 would have been the making of the show. So it was mainly focused on the technical side naman. But what changed ba?
I know.
I'm wearing my
I know your journalist hat. Damn it, Ellie. I think it was because of the answers that the interviewees gave. Like Ellie would say something, I don't know, probably mentioning, for example, like what happened during the when they came out, that he had this intention to sort of heal, even momentarily, the people, unite them through, the songs, or give them some sort of solace. I think yun nga, parang, that's a good theme, diba? That could be part of it. And then I would ask like scholars or historians, and they would say something that's so brilliant that I was like, okay, and then I figured out that, most of the important events in the history of the band serendipitously also marked a pivotal political event in the country, which is purely circumstantial. I didn't say like I'm going to make a political film. Diba? It just happened na ganon. Like, for example, they came out right after EDSA, where people could already start talking about the mundane things, it was, which is like a reflection of the privileges of democracy. So that's how Eraserheads also, that's how they became so powerful, because they were speaking what other people, what everyone was thinking, So I guess yun, it's so difficult, but I guess it's also just intuition then, na parang, yeah, this feels good. Kasi I also got a lot of pushback from editors also. Parang, no, stick to Eraserheads. We do not make this political. And I understand where they're coming from. Pero parang, if you're doing something for 2 years, if you're giving your life to something, you'd have to keep, you have to maintain that love for it. You have to keep falling in love with your project. And so I really needed to pursue all the things that really resonated with me, and this was it. And so I had to fight for it also. And I think it made their story all the more powerful, diba? They were rebels, revolutionaries, they were
I can hear
everything.
you. I'm right here.
I'm sorry.
Do you have more questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'm Anne from Bush ABS-CBN. Kasi it seems like it has evolved so much, diba? So parang may concept of healing, and then of course the impact on the nation, all that. Why do you think this story had to be told now? Or why did it have to be? Parang pwede na, kasi ang dami, parang diba, ang daming layers, ang haba nung timeline. And we could actually have they could have gone on without even having talked about it or whatever. But why did it have to be talked about? Why did the story have to be told?
You know, some things, for me as a filmmaker, some things just happen on an intuitive level. There's a strong force that I can't really articulate or explain, na parang it has to happen. Pero it's not in that way na this has to happen. Parang it was more like I was at a point in my life where I've sort of been, I've sort of also tried to avoid talking about things, like avoiding confronting the past. And I think I got to a point where it wasn't really serving me anymore. And in fact, it brought me a lot of, it brought me a lot of difficulties. So I got to a point where I was like, okay, enough time and distance has passed. So I think it all boiled down to timing. Na parang, okay, I can confront my past. And my time with the Eraserheads marked a particularly difficult time kasi I felt ready. And serendipitously, parang I felt like everyone was also at that point na parang, okay, I'm ready to tell myself, I'm ready to revisit it. Because I think every one of them wanted to heal. Who doesn't want to heal? But it takes a lot of work to get there. And I think, I think if I had done this 10 years ago, this wouldn't have happened. The catharsis or healing wouldn't have. It was really timing na it happened that way. Timing, hard work, luck also. Ikaw, Ellie, I don't know, like what made it, journalist, what made you feel ready to talk about things?
Same lang. I think it was the right time. I mean, I'm 50, turning 55, and when you reach that age, you kind of think of the legacy and kind of trying to right the wrongs that you did. I know that's impossible, and you have lots of regrets, but you can do, of course, you can do a documentary to right the wrongs, and I think one of the wrongs was not claiming my identity early on and not expressing myself. And also, I think dahil I needed to be, there's something to be I think happy about at that time. Like I was so down because again the first time I tried to put myself out there to exert some sort of
Influence.
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want people to see things my way in terms of politics, but I did want a win for democracy, I guess what's right in my own opinion, and the losing that way was very hard for me, and I think holding a show and having some sort of at least that kind of triumph in terms of my own personal art, it was something that I really wanted. That's why the show happened, and that's why I was willing to open up about the past.
Last for Ellie. So we say hindsight is 2020. You know, we have to learn from history. And now that you're basically mentors to the younger artists, so what? Because we all have our own takeaways from the documentary for sure. But what would you want the younger artists look up to you as icons?
The best thing I could want for them is to really just empathize with your partner or whoever you're working with, because that goes a long way.
Okay, maybe last two questions, Mr. Joey.
Yeah. When you watch the documentary, I think that what I loved about it the most was you didn't focus solely on the successes and the good side. You focused on the bullshit that happens.
Yeah.
But the thing with these things is, some people look at it as closing chapters, but I think the machinery is gonna want more after this. Are you prepared to do more after this? Is there, like you did have that announcement that you are doing that
Oh,
show.
we're
but-
ready. We're so ready.
But yeah, is there more? Because big fans would probably say, hindi nyo pa nakwento to, may ganito pang nangyari dito,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Is this something that you'll be prepared for a round 2 for?
I think I mean, in terms of the film, I kind of anticipated that, you know, people would feel, people would have that, it would incite the desire to want to see them again, to want them to, for more basically. So I anticipated it, and the answer should be answered by Ellie. Are you ready?
Well, you did say na this is your last documentary, so
It is my last documentary.
Yeah.
I'm going back to narrative features. I'm still gonna be a filmmaker, but this one has traumatized me. No, I think I got what I needed to
if
do
ever
out
na
of it.
may ganyan pa,
Mm.
I mean, parang Diana's tried her best to really like be comprehensive about it, but as you said, Joey, there's still more to tell, right?
Yeah.
And maybe in the future, diba, who knows? Na,
Yeah. I will probably make that one exception, you know, for them, but no other artist. Yeah, just
Before we accommodate one more question, reminder lang, yung announcement sa end credits, naka-embargo ng 21.
21st, yeah,
Yeah.
after everyone else
So
has
don't
seen it.
post muna or write about it.
At least the, you know, the song or something.
Then, as Eraserheads.
like we said, there's an embargo.
21st.
Embargo, yeah.
Let's focus on the movie first.
21.
Pwede sila picture ang dalawa dun sa poster mo.
Yeah, of course. Wala lang, I really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming here and watching the film, and I appreciate how, you know, how interactive this is and how, you know, enthusiastic you are with, you know, and I really feel that, you know, I mean, sort of like, I feel the good reaction, and I appreciate it a lot, and yeah, thank you so much for that.
Ayun, thank you for coming over and watching the film, and please spread the word na lang if you like.
If you like it.
Yeah.
We're not
If
forcing
you don't like it, don't spread the word.
Thank you, guys.